Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Two Cent. As always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I'll be giving you my 2 cents. Today's topic is going to be on testing I call it testing a person's spirit. So, this is a topic that I've actually been putting off for a while, and I'm not even sure how to verbalize it or organize it, so I'm going to just do what I always do. So, when I was a kid, I observed something in people that I didn't really understand until I got a little bit older. And one of the things that when I was growing up with my mother, she had this habit of, she would clean the kitchen, get the kitchen completely clean, and then she would tell me that she's leaving. She'll say, "Sorry, PC," because my nickname was PC. "Sorry, PC, I'm leaving the house. I'll see you later." And I'd be like, "All right, Mom, bye." And so she would leave. And then she would come home later that night, and then obviously the kitchen would be all messed up. And then she would complain. She was like, "Hey, the kitchen always dirty and stuff," and etc., etc. But what I observed was, it was always my fault the kitchen was dirty. There was 5 or 6 people living in the house, but it was always my fault that the kitchen was dirty. So what I started realizing was, what she was doing was, she was trying to prove empirically, because she's not an empirical person. She's not a scientific-minded person. She's a spiritual person. She's Christian. So she was trying to use empirical principles to establish her opinion of me. Because without an empirical foundation, anything that you think is just your opinion. Because you don't base... when you reject empirical evidence, that car behind me is white. If I reject the whiteness of that car, that's just my opinion. I can mentally masturbate on justifying how it's not quite white. I can be as clever as I want. But once you start doing that, you're not being empirical. And one of the things about being empirical is you accept the evidence that is in front of you. And you don't accept it because somebody said, "That's a white car." Because if another car pulled up and it was white, and they were like, "That car is black," you're like, how come this likeness is white and that likeness is white? How does that work? See, that's what empirical means. In spiritual matters, you just do what you're told. But in empirical matters, things have to equate. 1 + 1 has to equal 2. So, to not drift too far off the subject, what was going on was, my mother was running a scientific experiment. She would clean the kitchen, and she'll say, "The kitchen is clean. The only person in this house is my son. So when I come home, if the kitchen is dirty, it's because my son used dishes." So she would go out and she would do whatever it is she does, and then she would come home. Sometimes she'll come home to a clean kitchen, sometimes she'll come home to a dirty kitchen. The spiritual component of who my mother is that anytime she came home to an empty house that only had her son in it, to a clean kitchen, she didn't acknowledge a clean kitchen. That's why I call it testing a person's spirit. Because you're only trying to evaluate the condition based on the evidence that you're looking for. If you think that there's coyotes eating your chickens, every time you go outside, you could see a wolf with a chicken in its mouth. But since you're trying to test someone's spirit, you don't see the chicken being chased down by a wolf. The only thing you will see is that one coyote that caught that one chicken. And you're like, "I knew coyotes was out there eating my chickens." You don't see all the other predators eating your chickens, because the only thing you're looking for, the only thing you're trying to evaluate and validate in yourself is the coyote. That's not being empirical. And that's what my mother would do. When she would come home to a clean kitchen, no harm, no foul. She wanted the kitchen to be clean anyway. But what she didn't do was, remember, every time I come home, the kitchen's dirty. You always messing up the kitchen. When she would come home to a clean kitchen, she didn't say, "Sometimes when I come home, the kitchen's clean. You sometimes don't mess up the kitchen." She don't say that, because the only thing she wants to do is complain about the things that she deems as being wrong and bad. So, the good time she would come home and the kitchen is dirty, what she didn't reflect on was that there was more than one person in the house utilizing the kitchen. She didn't care that her husband and her 2 other daughters and the 10 to 15 daily visitors she had come over was also utilizing the same kitchen that her son occupied. You know, everything was automatically projected to her son because he was the only person that she was observing. Did I use dishes in the kitchen? Yes, I did, because everybody did. But I was held accountable for the totality of the kitchen being dirty. I was held accountable for the totality of everything being dirty. That's the reason why now in the present, I've come to understand that it's more important that people know that you do something than it is that you actually do it. And that's unfortunate. That's really sad in our society that it's more important. All of the time that I wasted cleaning kitchens, trying to have the kitchen clean so my mom could come home to a clean kitchen, all that energy was wasted when all I had to do was pause my video games when she walked in the door, went in the kitchen, cleaned up, cleaned the kitchen, and then go back in my room and finish playing games. I could have sat in the house. I used to wake up in the morning and clean the kitchen and then do what I wanted for the rest of the day. When she would come home to a kitchen that has been used by people before she got back, she didn't know that I cleaned the kitchen. So for the whole day, I didn't do anything. All I did was sit in my room at 16 and 17 and play video games. Even though I was a high school graduate, it still didn't matter because I wasn't trying to do anything in my life. At least, developing video games, writing stories, wanting to get into video production and trying to find a suitable 3D program, not to mention trying to get access to a computer so that I could develop computer generation, things like that. At age 17, African-American male in Detroit, Michigan, wasn't doing anything with his life. That's how I was viewed. So, that's testing a person's spirit. I'm sure you've experienced it, and there's probably a better term for it. I'm sure it's covered in psychology, but I don't really have that data yet. So I just wanted to add that little information. I'll get that information up there to you guys, and hopefully I can fix my finances and start updating my 2 cents the way that it needs to be done. So, but as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and that is my 2 cents.